Welcome to Numis Nerd, where hidden coins become hidden wealth.
Now take a close look at this coin. At first glance, it looks familiar, patriotic, slightly different from a normal quarter, yet common enough that most people never stop to think about it. But this is the United States Bicentennial Quarter Dollar, dated 7/26/1976, and it represents one of the most important moments in American history. This coin was created to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence. Instead of marking a single year, the US Mint chose a dual date, 1776 to 1976. A reminder of the nation's birth followed. Unlike regular quarters, the Bicentennial Quarter features a unique reverse design. The traditional eagle was replaced with a colonial drummer, torch in hand, surrounded by 13 stars representing the original colonies. It was bold, symbolic, and instantly recognizable. Millions of these quarters were struck at 3 mints. Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver marked with a D, and San Francisco marked with an S. Most were produced in copper and nickel for circulation, but a limited number from San Francisco were struck in 40% silver for collectors. Because of the massive production numbers, most people assume every bicentennial quarter is common and worth only face value. That assumption hides important details. Condition matters. Most bicentennial quarters were heavily circulated. Scratches, wear, and dull surfaces are common. Finding one is easy. Finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is not. Collectors seek sharp details, clean fields, and strong original luster. High-grade coins stand out immediately when placed next to ordinary circulated pieces. Silver versions are even more desirable. San Francisco Mint Silver Bicentennial quarters were sold in special collector sets and were never intended for circulation. When preserved properly, these silver quarters carry both historical importance and precious metal value. In confirmed cases, top-grade silver bicentennial quarters have sold for hundreds of dollars, while exceptionally graded clad examples have reached over $1,000 at auction. Errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, and major die cracks can push values even higher. Pause on that. A quarter most people ignore can sell for far more than expected, simply because it survived in the right condition. Here's what most people never realize. Bicentennial quarters are still everywhere, in drawers, in old jars, in collections that were never examined closely. Because people believe they are too common, they rarely check them carefully. That is a mistake. If you ever come across a bicentennial quarter, look closely. Check the mint mark. Examine the strike quality. Look for silver composition or unusual errors, and never clean it. Cleaning permanently destroys collector value, because sometimes history itself is not rare. Survival is, and the next valuable piece of American history might already be sitting quietly in your hands. Now take a close look at this coin. At first glance, it looks like another quarter. Bright, familiar. The kind of coin most people would never think twice about spending. But this is the 2023 United States Maria Talchief quarter, and it represents more than ordinary pocket change. The year 2023 was part of the American Women Quarters program, a historic series created to honor women who shaped American culture. Maria Talchief was one of the most influential figures ever featured. She was America's first major prima ballerina and a member of the Osage Nation. At a time when ballet was dominated by Europe, she helped place American ballet on the world stage. Her career changed how the world viewed American dancers. She brought strength, discipline, and precision to performances that were once considered unreachable for American artists. This coin honors not just her talent, but her perseverance. The design reflects that legacy. On the obverse, George Washington's familiar profile faces left, with liberty above his head and in God we trust beside his neck. On the reverse, Maria Talchief is captured mid-movement, graceful and powerful, symbolizing balance, control and motion. The P Mint mark shows this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Because this quarter is modern and widely released, most people assume every 2023 P Maria Talchief quarter is common and worth only face value. That assumption is where value is missed. Value does not always come from age or silver. Sometimes it comes from mistakes. Among the millions struck, a small number were released with noticeable mint errors. These include doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and significant die cracks. These coins were never meant to leave the mint, yet some entered circulation. Most people never notice these errors because the differences can be subtle. Slight doubling, a shifted design, an uneven edge. That's why many error coins were spent like normal change. Condition makes all the difference. A minor error in worn condition may only be worth slightly more than face value, but strong errors in clean, uncirculated condition can be worth serious money. In confirmed cases, Error examples of the 2023p Maria Talchief quarter have sold for $200 to $700. In rarer cases involving dramatic double dies or major de-breaks, prices have reached $1,000 to $2,000 at auction. Pause on that. A quarter pulled from everyday change selling for thousands of dollars. Even without errors, collectors seek pristine, top-grade examples. Coins graded at the highest levels can sell for $30 to $100 as demand grows for complete sets. These coins are still everywhere. In jars, old collections, bankrolls, and because they look modern, they are often ignored. That is a mistake. If you ever find a 2023p Maria Talchief quarter, slow down. Look closely, check the details, and never clean it, because sometimes history and value are hiding in plain sight. Now take a close look at this coin. At first glance, it looks like an old nickel, darkened, worn, the kind of coin many people assume is common just because it comes from the 1930s. But this is the 1937 United States Buffalo nickel, and it carries one of the most famous stories in American coin collecting. The Buffalo nickel, officially called the Indian head nickel, was already near the end of its run in 1937. The design featured a Native American portrait on the obverse and a massive American bison on the reverse, symbolizing strength, heritage, and the American frontier. By this time, the design was admired, but production challenges were well known. 1937 was a difficult year. The Great Depression was still affecting the country, and coins were heavily used in daily life. Very few people saved nickels. Most were spent repeatedly, leading to heavy wear. The design itself caused problems at the mint. The date was placed on a raised area, so it wore down quickly, often disappearing after circulation. That alone makes well-preserved examples difficult to find. But one specific variety changed everything. Among the millions of 1937 Buffalo, nickels struck at the Denver Mint. A small number were created with a dramatic mint error, known as the three-legged buffalo. On these coins, one of the buffalo's front legs is missing due to over-polishing of the die. The result is unmistakable. This was not damage. It was a mistake made during die preparation. Most people never noticed the error at first. These nickels entered circulation and were spent like ordinary change. By the time collectors realized what had happened, many were already worn or gone. Condition makes all the difference. A worn three-legged buffalo nickel still carries value, but one that survived in strong condition is extremely rare. Clean surfaces, clear detail, a visible missing leg. These qualities drive collector demand. In confirmed cases, genuine 1937D, three-legged buffalo nickels have sold for impressive prices. High-grade examples have reached $50,000 or more, while mid-grade coins can still sell for thousands. Pause on that. A 5-cent coin selling for the price of a car, simply because of a missing detail. Even regular 1937 Buffalo nickels, without the error, still carry value, especially in higher grades. But the three-legged variety is what made this date legendary. Here's what most people never realize. These coins still surface in old collections and inherited boxes. Because they look old and worn, they're often underestimated. That is a mistake. If you ever come across a 1937 Buffalo nickel, slow down. Examine the reverse carefully. Look at the buffalo's legs. Compare it to a normal example, and never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly, because sometimes the smallest detail can turn 5 cents into a historic treasure. And the next legendary nickel might already be sitting quietly in your hands.